Hi, Hospital Hippie, Brad Burns, otherwise known as. Who am I? What am I doing?
Take two.
Hi, I'm Brad Burns, healing habit health coach, otherwise known as Hospital Hippie, bringing our first episode of the Q Word out loud to the public, a different kind of healthcare podcast, where Cassidy Burns and I are going to discuss what we've seen in our combined 15 years in the hospital industry, what we've learned, why we think it is a sick care, fast food medicine model, and the changes that we've experienced in ourselves as well as what we've witnessed in this institution that is American healthcare. So we're going to be saying the Q word out loud. It's our first episode.
Such stage fright.
Just pretend there's nothing happening. Pretend that we're not even recording. Pretend that there's nobody here. Pretend there's nobody watching.
Okay.
Because likely there won't be a ton of people watching. It's not too high stakes. I just would like to put it on record. The Q word out loud. First, I guess we should explain what that means, what the Q word is, because there's a lot of Q out there, and like to disassociate from them real quick, because the idea is in the hospital there are a lot of superstitions, and one of them, besides saying like if you're having a slow shift, you don't say that, you don't say it slow, because if you recognize that it's slow, it could heat up and things could happen. All hell could break loose right away. That's what happens when you say the Q word as well, quiet. Because if you say it's a quiet shift, you've just cursed yourself for all hell to break loose. And, I wanted to title this podcast that because I believe hell is already broken loose. I believe a lot of the problem we have with sick care is closeting this hell and keeping these families from sharing what's going on in the closets of these hellscapes that are hospital rooms. Dying is a natural process. Living is a natural process. We've existed for millennia sharing this with the tribe and expecting what is coming. Instead of being so wrapped up in our body and forgetting that we are a spirit, we are not our body, we in American healthcare get sold a song that you can take a med every day to stave off this natural process your body's going through. Say with being a little fat, being fatter, they want to put you on blood pressure medicine right away. And it may be a little exaggerative, but every pound of body fat's another 7,000 miles of blood vessels that need perfusion, innervation, and blood. So when you're put on medicine that prevents your body from bringing blood flow to these spots, your body's already starting to die. Your body's a universe of galactically interacting solar systems intercoursing to keep you well and keep you healing. And that's even happening when we gain weight, when we get fat, because your body needs oxygen. And the daily medication model will tell you there's something wrong and there's something unnatural with what you're experiencing, and the med can help. And I don't think it is. I think it is something that is we're being tricked. My daughter just woke up and she's playing with stuff.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You're still programmed.
Yeah. What's
Programming? What's that mean?
processing what? Oh, okay. Would you mind not being as distracting? Because you are very much the most important thing for me to look at when you're in my vision. I haven't seen her in a while, and I really do want to hang out with her, so it's just hard to be pulled in different directions, but I really very much like to get these words out. So saying the Q word, saying quiet, isn't going to change anything, isn't going to make the hospital system speed up. It's not going to make your shift worse. And it's not going to make your life harder by bringing these difficult discussions out and talking to people. So we are opening the door. We're tearing the veil. If you've had anything happen to you in the hospital industry, I want you to share it if you can. If you feel brave, put it in the comment section and let us know, because this is something we are very passionate about. Health literacy is the biggest reason I believe we have such a closeted hellscape that families are afraid to discuss with their families even, or ask questions about what's going on. When you go into a hospital, you agree to the experts taking over and taking care of you, but only because you've consented to it and you've had what's called an informed consent. So if you don't understand, if you have misunderstandings, please do not assume that someone has your best interest at heart just because they're an expert. There are misaligned incentives, and some of them are not the happiest thing to talk about. So we're going to be talking about those. We're going to be talking about happy stuff. I think I've explained I've been a nurse 8 years. First couple years I was in med-surg land doing 6 to 8 patients every night and spinning plates for folks that may have dementia but are getting treated as stroke patients because those numbers look good in the hospitals. If they even have stroke symptoms, admitting them for stroke-like symptoms, even if it is mostly dementia, does pad numbers and make it appear that more stroke patients have been treated. One key right there for you. Things are not always as they seem when you see numbers like millions of stroke victims have been helped and treated at this hospital. Know this detail right now, I'm telling you. They may or may not have actually had a stroke, and it may just be grandma experiencing the same demented patterns that she has for years. What else, Cass? Would you like to introduce yourself? And
Sure. So I've been a nurse for 7 years. I started my career on... Oh, wait a minute. Are we supposed to say where we work?
It doesn't matter. You don't have to say where you work.
I feel like I have to be undercover talking about a lot of this because...
That's why we have this podcast, because there's a lot of feelings that we have to keep quiet.
Here's my security blanket. Come here, Sophie. Say hi to the people. You want to say hi? No, that's okay. My dog's right here. She heard me stressing. I'm sorry. I feel really awkward, and I want you to know that I'm trying my best.
You're not doing anything
now.
wrong.
It's so weird. It's just you and me.
It's just you and me. You don't have to feel like crying. There's no big deal. There's no big audience. We're just...
You can cut all this out.
Talking into a void.
Right. You can cut all this out.
Yeah, you cut all this out. We don't have to film. You don't have to show any of this. Nobody has to see any of this. But that's the point, is I'd like them to be able to be part of what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
I get told a lot that I have some sort of mental illness because of my passion for reaching people and breaking through this tradition of curbing your enthusiasm and hiding your tears and not talking about what's actually bothering you. So I'm done being quiet. I'm done saying the Q word and not saying the quiet part out loud, because there's a lot of lies and incentives that are helping the powers that be, not you and me. We have a duty to help people and to advocate for them, not just inside the hospital, but outside the hospital. And that's what we're doing here. We're bringing healthcare outside of the hospital, because there's a huge disconnect in what people think is happening and what is actually happening in the hospital. Just step by step, we'll break some of those pieces apart. And yeah, we can cut some of this out, but I'd really like to share it. I'd really like them to see us and know who we are. There's a value to it, I believe. I think keeping ourselves quiet is
what they want us to do.
They like. There's a liability we get scared with a lot of times about, oh, you got to be careful what you tell people. You got to be careful what advice you give. Oh, that's a good disclaimer right now to give. None of this is medical advice. This is all facilitation of health education, and nothing should be taken as a sign that you should do this. You should prescribe to our beliefs. Learn what you need to learn. Know what's in your heart and make the decisions based off of the best possible information you have. Ask questions. Assume nothing. Just because someone's an expert does not mean they will have your best interest at heart. I will likely repeat myself a few times, and that's okay, because it takes 3 times for you to hear something and remember it. And I'm not going to ask forgiveness for crying or please excuse my wife or whatever she's acting like. I'm not going to ask for that. I want you to see this. I want you to know who we are, because I've had a lot of people say thank you and say go, go, go. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep bringing this to you because I love you. I need you to hear this. I need you to hear this before you go into the hospital for some expected emergency that is a lifestyle change. I work at a place where you come in and it's a fork in the road. You decide if you're going to go to a nursing home and live there forever, vegetate there forever, or go to a rehab center after a chronically ill experience in ICU, which I worked for the rest of the years after working the spinning plates of 6 to 8 patients every night. There's a lot of this on you. It's not on me. This is a potent second chance opportunity before you hit that hospital bed after your expected emergency, which I know it sounds crazy to say that there's an expected emergency, but we're all paddling towards a waterfall if we're living a lifestyle that is ignorant of our own health. And I would like you to see the paddles in your hands and perhaps stop paddling towards the waterfall if you can. Just slow down. Slow down. All right? Take 2, call me in the morning, I'll talk to your body. That doesn't work. There's always going to be some sort of new medicine after the medicine that you're given has stopped working. Or there are side effects to the medicine you were given that need another medicine to handle those side effects. There's no perfect drug. There's no one perfect pill. There's no magic treatment. You're magic. So learn your health. When you heal, I heal. When I heal, you heal. And you don't have to say anything if you don't want to. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. I'm grateful that you're doing this at all with me. It takes bravery.
Trying to put my face on. I don't even know why I'm crying. I mean,
because this is an opening. We're tearing the veil here. You want to let people know that I'm not forcing you to do this?
It's not forcing me to do this.
We are in love. We've been married for over a year. We've been together since January 2020. And
before all hell broke loose.
Before they say all hell broke loose. When medical autonomy was turned into a myth, which is your body, your choice. You have a choice. This is not something that is being thrust upon you. You don't have to press the magic buttons 911. You can. I'm glad when you do and we help you. I've done it. I've helped people. It's a very powerful skill to know how to nurse. I like to share everything I can. It's okay if there's air in the conversation.
I know. This feels very meditative. I'm just thinking of all the things.
Yeah. I'll hit you with a quote that's been bopping around.
Can you just pause? Because I want everything that you're saying to be heard, but out of the part that I want cut out of this. Hang on. This is so funny.
You keep looking at yourself. I think it's a big thing. Just maybe
not keep, just every now and again.
Well, yeah, but like just forget yourself. You're not yourself. You're them. You're us. You're me. Things are happening. This is a happening. This is a podcast where a hospital hippie interviews those patiented by the American hospital sick care system. I guess best thing to do is start with the format that I've created that will actually lead us towards discussing instead of me diatribing as usual. So what was your idea or your perception of healthcare, doctors, nurses before interacting with the system? What was your first memory?
Well, my first memory is a funny one that doesn't necessarily fully answer your question, but I thought I would share.
There's no wrong answer.
My pediatrician was Dr. Spencer. I loved him. I was a child. I had my round of shots that was traumatic, just like everyone else did, but was mostly well. So I liked going to the doctor. And my parents were filling out kindergarten paperwork, and my dad said, "What's Dr. Spencer's first name?" And I said, "Doctor."
Doctor, duh.
So that's probably one of my first memories. And what led me to serving in this space was growing up hearing my granny's stories. She was a registered nurse for many years and had lots of stories to share that she was able to make rated G for her grandchildren. Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of time baking cookies and hearing about 300-pound people that she had to sponge bath, and I thought that was the craziest thing in the world. I thought it was, circus work. I grew up watching Big Fish, and so I just thought of this circus scene, the 300-pound woman or whatever, and I just thought that was crazy.
That's the biggest you could think of.
She told me the stuff she was scraping off her skin, and I know it sounds maybe strange for a 8-year-old child to be hearing this story, but hey, I was asking questions, and she was being honest with me. So
strange for anyone to hear.
Strange that one in particularly stuck in my mind, and it was something I thought I might want to do. But really, it was serving people who needed help and caring for people in some of their hardest moments. I'm going to cry again.
It's all right to cry.
No. My granny's really, really sweet.
Just breathe. Nothing wrong with anything you're doing. Nursing is about passion. You have had passion.
I have a
and
lot of
still
passion.
Have passion.
And wanted to help people. She would come home with little tapes and tongue depressors and let us play doctor. I liked all the gadgets. It felt science-y. And she told me I'd never be bored. And that has held true. Oh, boy.
Also, one of the superstitious words that you don't say if you're having a slow shift. You don't say, "Man, it's a boring day." Oh, everybody will look at you with daggers in their eyes, I swear. You think I'm just saying that they're superstitious and it won't be recognized? No, you'll be called out for it by the whole team. If you say it's quiet, boring, or slow, they'll look at you and say, "Way to go." Now it won't be.
So, yeah, my first view of healthcare, child, grew up thinking similar to what my bonus daughter shared with me when she first met was, "You're a nurse, what do you do? Just type stuff into a computer?" Because that's your experience with nurses at a pediatrician's office. There's not much to be done when you're well. So that was fun. Yeah, I type stuff into computers.
Still a lot of what we do, and we make the computers pretty happy.
We make them awfully satisfied.
Everything looks good on computer paper.
Gotta make sure your chart looks good. If you didn't chart it, you didn't do it. Which, with me being compliant, my narrative notes at the end of a visit it's quite creative writing. So I want to make sure these people know what I did. I'm not just clicking your buttons on a screen. I'm going to tell you what I did for this person in my hour-and-a-half visit. Sorry, I'm burping this morning.
I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, be silly.
This question, I want to make sure I answered it right.
There's no way to answer it right or wrong.
That was my first idea, was just that I could help people and enjoy my time serving.
And what was your biggest contrast when you first went in, or after you started to see the inside? Like what changed? What was there? Yeah, what changed after working on the inside? Any sudden realizations? Any gradual changes? My idea when I first came to nursing is I thought I was going to be an actor in high school, and then it didn't exactly work out. I had a change of pace and, I'll say floundered, but meandered through my first years of college, thinking I was going to get a psychology degree, and then realized I didn't want to spend 6 years in school and then lead to being in a small room with somebody just discussing their inner shadows and not get a whole lot of hands-on skills. My mom suggested nursing, thought that would be cool, so I went in. I got in to a program, and the first semester they were asking what specialty would be interesting to me, and I said physical therapy looks really interesting, and they said, you're in something completely different, right? I was starting to realize I didn't know what nursing was. I was always one of those kids who could just take a test and not have to study. I didn't know how to study. Nursing school taught me how to learn, how to study, and it also broke me down and I feel like hazed me in a certain way to doubt what the best, most first outcome would be when you take a test, because you got to get that right.
If you've been to nursing school, you know.
Yeah,
what's the most correct answer? They're all correct.
They're all correct. You're going to do all of them when you enter a room, but what's the first, most best one you're going to do? And I didn't do well the first couple semesters. I got some C's, and it might be shocking to some people because you think you are in healthcare, like if you're going to be a doctor or you're going to be a nurse, you got to get A's, you got to get the most correct because you're going into a place that's the highest stakes. But no, C's get degrees, and if you walk around and you see doctors, they're not all top of the line straight A students.
Hey, unless your program says that a C is like 85 to 89. Yeah.
Is that yours?
If I remember correctly, an A was 94 to 100. A B was like 97 to 93 or whatever. They really made it tough. Mm-hmm. Woo! Thank you.
The idea that it was about perfection was something that I gave up slowly but surely, and I learned my most in clinicals where I was with patients, with instructors, before we walked into a room discussing medications. That was a big thing, is know what you're giving it for, know what it's going to do, and know what could happen because of it. And that is still something that I see nurses not really exemplify.
I have to interject. It's not fair when there's so many freaking pharmaceuticals. Nursing is different now. It's insane what my granny went through and all the meds that she was aware of and just knew it was part of her foundational knowledge. And then the world we live in today, there's so many medications for so many different things. I feel sorry for the new nurse.
Yeah.
I remember being told in my pharmacology class, these are like the main things you need to know, but this is not all the meds in the world. And I was like, how the heck am I supposed to be expected to go out and administer these things to people when I don't even know what they do, what the side effects are, and you're supposed to look it up before you administer it and on your 8 patients a shift?
Yeah.
We're being asked to practice things that we aren't even informed and consenting to.
So much less the patient. Like, if you think we're not informed, the patient is even less informed. I remember the shock of understanding that as soon as somebody walked through the threshold of the hospital, that Yeah, we're still going. As soon as they walk through the threshold of the hospital, they have a risk for blood clots. Like, as soon as they come in, even if they've just been walking around and very active in a steady state, as soon as you come to the hospital, you have a risk of blood clots. So we put you,
immobility.
because we put you on heparin. It's not immobility. They were still walking. They're still
Your patients were on heparin immediately?
Yeah, they were in med-surg land. In my first years, they would get put on heparin or Lovenox immediately to prevent blood clots, which I was so baffled because I didn't understand how somebody who came in for, even like toe pain or some sort of toe injury, they were on heparin. It was what I came to hear and find out is like hospital housekeeping from prophylaxis. You get prophylaxis for anticoagulation, keep you from having blood clots. So you get these heparin, these Lovenox shots in your belly too. It's not a med that you could take by mouth. You get a shot in your belly, and I got to pinch it. And that's a weird one. I remember a nurse telling me that when you see a patient lift their stomach up, even if they don't say yes to the shot, that is implied consent. Right? Did you know when you lift your belly up, that means I can stick you in your belly with a sharp needle? You be careful. I'm taking that as a go-ahead. And there's also prophylaxis for peptic ulcer disease. As soon as you come into the hospital, you are at risk of developing a peptic ulcer. So you get put on some sort of PPI, some proton pump inhibitor. It would get you. God, what are those called? It's been a while. I don't give them any more.
Prilosec, omeprazole, Protonics.
Protonics. That's the big one. Protonics. And I just didn't understand it. Patients didn't quite understand it, but they trusted me. So they'd take whatever I gave them. If I even gave them just a small, this can help prophylactically. And that's something that happens outside of the hospital too. My mom was prescribed prednisone, a corticosteroid, which is an immunosuppressant that lowers inflammation and has a lot of other side effects. If you stay on it long enough, you will get diabetes. For real. If you get on a corticosteroid and stay on it for long enough, you will develop diabetes mellitus. It's a guarantee. Because it raises your sugar, it suppresses your immune system, and raises your body's weaknesses. It keeps your body weak. And the reason she was given, because she had a cold, she was given a reason by her doctor. It's to make you feel good. That's it. She asked, why are you prescribing me prednisone? What is that for? It's to make you feel good. And some people can have psychosis from it. You can take corticosteroids and have some flip switch. But it's going to make you feel good, which is enough for them to say, go ahead, take it, call me in the morning. Or not. It's baffling. And this is a model that we've been trained to legitimize as young, good-looking people. Because the older folks, they love to be treated and served and think they're getting something for nothing, which taking a pill is very much something for nothing. But there are no free lunches. There's no biological free lunch. As soon as you start taking any pill, your body is reacting to it. And that's a lot of times...
Your stomach has to break it down.
Why
it
you need
floats
antacids.
around your bloodstream. Your liver or kidneys have to process and excrete it.
There's no harmless medication. There's no drug without side effects. I've got a few friends who are adults who are well. They're well people. They chew up antacids every day as if that's some sort of innocuous, harmless thing to do. And meanwhile, they're likely giving themselves osteoporosis slowly. They're leaching calcium from their body as the pH of your stomach has to maintain a 3 to 4 pH range. So when you put something that's an antacid, your body's going to create more acid. It has to neutralize what you put in it. There's no free lunch. There's no giving it away. If you have heartburn, don't eat as much. Firstly. Second of all, think about what you've been eating. your body has an energetic response to the source of whatever food you put in it. This comes around to health training and healing. If you're in a position to work out or get fit, it's not done just in the gym. I don't look like this from going to a gym. I do longboard to work. I do yoga pretty regularly. I stretch and make sure my body is fit and working out the way it's supposed to. But none of that would matter if I was eating McDonald's or if I was eating any fast food daily, because 80% of what your body looks like is your diet. And you can't get away with it by just doing more bicep curls. There's a lot of strangeness that happens in our minds when we would like to believe and overpromise. This podcast, the Q Word Out Loud, is saying to you something I think you already know. You don't get something for nothing. So, after being part of the system, I realized more and more that I was not about it. I don't like it.
Yeah, they taught us too much.
They taught us too much. It surprised me. It surprised me that I was, after saying these questions, getting somewhat eye rolls and some kind of, like, we know, we understand, I get what you're going through. It's a phase, which...
Mine was not a phase.
It's not a phase.
Mine was a death in a way.
I remember the day.
Being ready to leave.
I remember the day you lost your faith in the sick care system.
I was just being asked to do things that I did not sign up for. Yeah.
It's unreasonable. There are some materialistic, like, devil worships almost when we allow families to use our hands to turn their loved ones into vegetables.
Yeah, I think that we can go to what surprised you the most. That is what I can answer with this. I was so surprised that we dishonored a man's wishes in his end of life, and instead let his poor wife beg him, live for me, don't die. And instead of appropriately educating her about the situation and the futility of full court press, we did everything we could. And a man who very, very calmly told me when he would not put his CPAP back on, that if you don't wear this, your oxygen levels will drop and we will have to put a tube down your throat. Put all these medicines in your body. Tie your wrists down. And he said, it's okay.
It's okay.
I die now.
He was ready.
Little Vietnamese man. He was ready. He was peaceful. And I said,
he was ready.
Well, sir, your chart says you're full code. So that means if your heart stops or your breathing stops, that we will do CPR and intubate. So if you are telling me that it's okay and that you are ready to die, we need to change some letters in a computer.
To allow it.
To allow us to let you die.
To allow your natural death.
And so I called the providers in there. Had a nurse practitioner and an MD involved in this discussion with me. And it was determined that because his oxygen levels were low, he was not able to make his own decisions. And so we called his wife in. And, sweetest little lady. Of course you want your husband to live. He came into the hospital relatively well. We don't know why he's suddenly so sick. To just not get in those weeds, I won't discuss in detail his diagnosis and health. So we determined he is not capable medically of making his own decisions. Because his oxygen is too low. A dying man's oxygen levels drop. And because of said oxygen depletion, the medical wizards determine that he is not adequately perfusing his brain and cannot make the decision for his own outcome. So we bring his wife in and his daughter, and they are, minimally informed of the situation. There is a language barrier. And she convinces him to be intubated. She's so sweet. She's begging him, love me, don't die, live for me. What are you going to do? So he agrees to be intubated, and that's the last time he was really a person. I want to say he was on the floor for about 4 to 6 weeks. We tried every ventilator setting we could. We tried every medication we could. He was basically, ultimately, on full-blown life support. We were breathing for him. We were infusing IV medications that were keeping his heart beating and keeping his blood pressure to a certain level, which vasoconstricts the vessels going to your periphery, your non-essential organ system. So we saw skin failure. His skin was rotting off. His kidneys shut down. He was on continuous dialysis. And we had his hands tied the whole time. And I didn't sign up for that. Like we talked about earlier, I am grateful to live in the modern day that we do, where we have these tools to save people from major car accidents, whatever it is. I'm not the one to say who deserves and who does not deserve these full court presses, but I think everyone deserves to be educated on what they are consenting to. I'll just leave it at that.
And let it be so. Anything come true that you did expect? Not just in that case, but in the other case. I think I need to burn some sage. Would you hand me that sage, please? That's it. I'll do it. I don't want to use a lighter.
Handing it
I don't want to use a lighter.
Oh, okay.
I'm using matches. Oh, boy.
What came true?
Yeah, what cool things came true?
Oh,
How
well,
cool
this isn't a
was some
cool
stuff?
one. This is a funny one. Someone once said if you put a broom in the corner, the nurses will clean the rooms too. And I can't tell you how many rooms I've cleaned in my career.
It's true. I wonder if I said that or I heard somebody else say that before me, because I say that sometimes.
I remember it being a joint conversation on a unit we did work together.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
I've cleaned rooms gladly. Thank you, Florence Nightingale, for teaching us about cleanliness and washing your hands and keeping the space clean.
The only solution to pollution is dilution. There's no...
Oh, my ears are ringing.
Nice.
That was nice.
Celestial sound. If you haven't noticed or were curious, we are very spiritual people. We are very interested in the physics of the spirit. And I know as we get better with our scientific measurements, we will learn that there is more to what doesn't meet the eye and what we can feel. I've seen people very prepared for their passing, to the point where they told me it was about to happen. So this man, in intensive care, as people are facing their final moments, a lot of them change. A lot of people turn into different animals as they don't want to go. And that's normal. I'm not saying the life principle is wrong. It got us here from amoeba or whatever. Like, we had so many disasters against us. We had floods and fires and brimstone. But somehow we're here. We're all here working towards life. And that's awesome. There's also something about knowing it's borrowed. This body is temporary. We're imbued with the spirit of the universe, with the spirit, the image of God. We are made in the image of God. And whatever religion you prescribe to, that's across the board with all of them. There's an imbuement of connection to the ultimate. And as you can become more connected with that, as the animals change and you transform at your deathbed, your final bed, there's a going home that is embraced by many. And you can see it if you're lucky, if you got the right eyes, and you can hear it. You can feel it. There was one man in particular who, as I was saying, in intensive care, we change. If you have a tube down your throat to breathe for you, it is one of the most uncomfortable things you're likely to experience, and undeniably something you want to stop. So we tie your wrists to the bed. We handcuff you to the bed.
Soft wrist restraints is what we call them.
I like to call them wrist reminders because we tend to forget that we're in the hospital or that we're being saved. I'm saving you. I'm saving
when
you.
you're loaded up on Prop and Fent, what can you do?
I don't think, I mean, the drugs definitely mute the body's responses, but I believe there's something that happens that doesn't get affected by drugs. I think at the end there's really no drug that can diminish, change, or affect that connection to the divine and that imbuement. So, wrists tied down, mouth unable to speak. You can see this acceptance sometimes, this home, this going home. And one fella was ready enough to know that he didn't want to be intubated. He didn't want to go through those last full court press moments. But his IV started to go bad. I mean, we're still going to do things when you're in the hospital, even if we don't intubate and do a full resuscitation where we press on your chest and put drugs in you to keep your blood pressure high. We're still going to do as much as we can. We'll give you fluid to help make sure that there's enough in your body to circulate, because a lot of times hypovolemia, low fluid volume, can cause low blood pressure, which can lead to death. Because as we pass, as the natural process continues of not wanting to drink or eat, you drop in fluid status. You don't have as much to move around and press and keep your heart to get fluid to your brain, get blood to your brain. So this guy's IV was going bad. I had to replace it. And it was in that moment where he was saying, I'm ready to go. I'm going to go home now. And again, generally when people say that, they're trying to get out of bed. They're trying to get up and move, because the steady state of movement is something that we are not able to deny as humans. But that's not what he was doing. He was saying, I'm ready to go home. It's time. And he wasn't moving his body. He was just saying that. And once I got the IV in, he said, that was perfect. That's perfect. And then he passed. And his son came and said, yeah, he hasn't been having fun for a while now. He was ready. He was a framer, and getting something perfect, something he said a lot. So when he passed, he was perfect. He's ready. And they also, the son and wife, shared something kind of wild. This man had been living at a nursing home before he came to my ICU, our ICU, the hospital's ICU. It's not mine. We take a lot of claim when we come into these spaces. Nurses are very territorial. If you've ever been in a hospital and seen it, sometimes they put a piece of paper with their name on a chair and claim the chair for the whole shift. We're adults at work. You got to share. That's crazy. But they'll still try it. And they'll have spaces they'll set up. There's all kinds of territorial funniness that nurses experience. We're all human animals, after all. But the son and wife shared that his girlfriend at the nursing home had passed 2 days before he passed. And he didn't know that. They didn't want to share it with him.
He wasn't told that.
He wasn't told that. He may have known that, but they didn't want to share that with him because they thought it would make him sad. But he was ready. He knew. There's a communication that we do. Call it astrally, call it non-physical. And that's a big reason why I feel compelled to bring this to you guys. This is a Q word, needs to be said out loud. It's being said here. It's being said here. You know what's happening. You may not understand it. And the monkey mind that's kept us pushing forward from disaster to disaster, the ego, would likely prefer to trick you and to keep going until your genes can be spread among the masses. But you don't have to. And It's a lie. You are not your ego. Your ego is a mask that we wear and show to the world. So with that non-physical recognition, I'd like to ask, what would the perfect hospital look like to you if resources were infinite?
More healers, more people there to provide care.
Oh yeah, more people.
We don't need more drugs and whatever.
Boy.
I'm not saying blah 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 blah. What I would wish for, more individuals there to spend time with these people and heal them. I'm saying all this not exactly how I mean to say it. Thank you for the reruns.
There's nothing wrong. This whole thing is meant to be an open discussion.
I'm feeling much more relaxed, but I do have some perfectionism with the whole performing thing.
Right. Well, this is about the hang.
There were a few beautiful shifts where I had one patient and one empty room. I had the bed. I would be the nurse to care for the level 1 burn that would land in that bed, should it be that night.
You're leaning out of the frame.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. You were a second. Give the people what they want.
Well, I don't know why it's doing all the zoom in, zoom out thing.
You're leaning forward out of the frame. It wants to see you. You're beautiful.
Where am I going with this?
You had one empty room, and you had time.
Yeah, I had time to spend with this young patient who was with us for a very long time and really get to know him instead of just saying, hey, I'm here to turn you every 2 hours and to poke you this many times a shift to check your blood sugar and to, all these tasky things that nurses have to do. I was able to do and get to know this person. Help them feel safe and cared for and provide an environment in which healing can happen. If you're afraid and you're not trusting and stressed, dude, let's talk about your girlfriend and your favorite car.
What wags your tail?
And you don't want this hospital food anymore? I don't blame you. Here's some macaroni that we can eat outside. Let's go outside.
Outside?
This kid, he wasn't a kid, he was an adult, but, this young fella, he was with us for so long, and he was inside these tiny rooms with bright fluorescent lights, and it was not safe for him to leave the unit without an ICU nurse because of all the gadgets that he came with. No lay person could safely travel with him outdoors, and so this shift I was able to, and that was what I signed up to do, which is just really, we talk about I can't do anything to you or for you. I'm not really caring for these people, but to be able to care with them, that's the dream world for me, is just to have enough people who have the skills to work with these people.
It makes me feel crazy because we remember a time, I know I do and I think you do, where there were more everybody, and we're just being asked to do more with less everybody, and it doesn't make any sense because you can't. And 6 to 8 patients was a lot. 8 patients. I went 10 patients one night. You can't sit and heal. You can't help any of them. You're just running and gunning and throwing things at them, basically.
Scanning
barcodes like they're grocery items being shopped. I think that's a big part of why we're doing this, is to get this out to folks that there could be a better way. And all it takes is more healers and less stealers. There's a lot of stealing happening from the uppers, and they don't touch the patients. They don't have any investment in you. They have investment in the money that you're bringing to them. And 80% of the money spent for Medicare and insurance, and I want to take this fact from you. Do you want to say it?
Go for it.
80% of the money paid out in Medicare and insurance is spent in the last 2 years of life. And I ask why? Why? Why is all that money coming out at the very end instead of leading up to and protecting them from that very much final state? Where could the investment go before? You guys got to ask. You guys got to ask yourself, ask your congressmen, ask your senators, ask your family, and ask, why are we waiting to the last minute to use our resources they're infinite? What the hell is money for if it's not to help heal us and to get us healing in the right direction? More everybody would get everything done in the way they want. Advice for others? What would your advice be to others who are, we're all going to face a healthcare crisis or some sort of healthcare need in our life. We're not going to get away from death. We all have a guarantee. What advice would you give?
Take ownership of your own health.
Be accountable.
To be healthy. Breaking the words down. Heal thy. I'm not saying you have to do it alone. I'm not saying you have to know all the answers. But just take ownership and advocate for yourself. And don't be fooled by people who have other intentions. Or even if that's not their intention, I can't tell you how many physicians I have met who said, I did not know what I was signing up for. I did not know this is what I was going to be asked to do with these letters behind my name. They did not sign up to push certain chemicals that paid their bills. But when you have bills to pay and you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt for medical school, they are captured as well. And so there are incredible practitioners out there who want to help people heal themselves. And I don't want to invite fear or anxiety into this space, but just empowerment.
Empowerment. Knowledge is power.
I don't have all the answers.
Nobody
You
does.
won't have all the answers, but to seek them and do your best.
Do your best.
That's all you can do.
And
Do
when
your
you
best.
learn better, do better.
Yeah.
There's no real sense in having a full code 99-year-old because we are going to break her ribs. We are going to hurt her to help her sustain her life. And I believe there's a misaligned incentive that could be seen as perhaps how dark it might sound, a duty to die. And your parents may agree. Talk with them. Discuss with them. Because if they're 99 and you're saying, I just want one more minute being able to look at their carcass.
Or if they're 65.
Let me finish, because this is a point I'm trying to make. It's not about 65. It's just...
Sorry.
If you're doing something futile on someone just to look at their carcass and feel better about it, it may be something that you want to hear, but it's not right for you or for them. And the hospital system will okay it. They'll say okay. They'll say go ahead. They won't talk you out of it. They'll take that money. They'll take your assets. This is the biggest darkness that happens at the end of our lives. It's not so much that there's some ugly thing happening to this person. The person will be fine. I'm telling you. They are welcoming going home. It's you. It's you kiddos who are hanging on, who think that you're doing the right thing or that there's blood on your hands if you don't. And it's not true. In fact, the hospital may or may not be incentivized to use that feeling to make sure that you give them all, not just the money from the insurance, because I'll tell you a secret. Medicare, insurance are really good at finding where your assets are, finding if you have money to spend first, and they'll get that, and they'll make sure that you have nothing left from your parents' lifetime achievement. They'll claw all those assets to leave you penniless and to leave you destitute. And then the memory of your family is tarnished and tainted because you didn't feel comfortable or feel confident and feel like you were doing the right thing. I'm not saying let your family go early or let them go before you're ready. I'm saying hold yourself accountable for when you're given an overpromise that is just what you want to hear and not the best thing, the best, most perfect outcome. Because I do have concern for this process. Do you have any concern for this process of psychic, energetic manipulation of people's goodwill to help their family?
Yeah. I guess, again, my concern comes a lot of the practitioners that are guiding these families. Just small example, I worked at a hospital where the attending would rotate weekly. You know, you're on for a full 7 days, and then you're off for a full 7 days, and it changes to a different doctor. I had this patient who was on life support. We're breathing for them. We're giving them IV drugs to keep their heart beating. Other organ systems are failing.
We're giving them adrenaline. Can I just, that's a really
Sure.
important thing real quick to explain, because what drugs work to keep your body moving are the excitement drugs, the fight or flight drugs. So not only are we keeping you alive with these magic medicines, you're freaking out during the whole time because that's what your body is responding to. The adrenaline is freaking you out. Fighter. They're a fighter. Of course they're a fighter. We're putting fight in them.
Oh my God. Sorry. We have to laugh. We have to laugh. You can only cry so much.
Of course they're a fighter.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me interrupt.
Of course. So this patient was on life support. We're doing all we can. It seems quite futile. And Dr. A, we'll call him, who's on this week, has encouraged the family, his vitals are stable because of what we're doing for him. Giving us all these things that we could do. We can put right now the tube goes down his throat to breathe for him. But long term, we can keep him alive. We can put a tube in his throat and breathe for him. Right now, we're feeding him through a tube that goes down his nose. But long term, we can cut a hole in his belly and feed him. Tube feeds through his belly. We can get him placed in a nursing home where people can supposed to turn him every 2 hours.
We can have him chart it.
We can have them chart that he's being turned every 2 hours and that he's getting all of these medications crushed up and pushed down his tube, and that this vent setting is going to remain at this to help continue to breathe for him. And the family is valuing his advice and considering this path and looking into the options of facility that his insurance is accepted at. And Saturday comes and goes. Now it's Sunday. Dr. B comes on shift. We do rounds. He takes one look at this patient and is like, what the hell are we doing here? This is futile. We need to have a family meeting. We need to call the family in and be honest with them about this patient's prognosis. So we gather the family in this room, and Dr. B is telling them open and honestly and vulnerably what we're doing to this patient and what his prognosis is. And the family is almost relieved to be spoken to straight
and honest, because they knew that this man, he was, I don't remember exactly how old, but he was in his 90s and was still living independently at home. He would not want this life that Dr. A was suggesting, but because they want to do the right thing, they're trusting Dr. A with his guidance. When Dr. B comes in with his honesty, they are almost relieved because they don't want to be the ones to pull the plug. They don't want to kill their dad, their grandpa. That's not what's going on here. We are pushing breath into him when he would not take any more if we were not artificially doing this for him. So when the family was spoken to, just transparent, honest information from Dr. B, we went comfort care. We stopped doing all of these invasive interventions to keep a heart beating and to keep lungs inflated. And he passed very peacefully with his family surrounded by him, instead of potentially his heart stopping despite all of our efforts and us banging on his chest.
Yeah. Concern.
Death is not the worst thing that can happen to you.
And it's all about what you value. If you're concerned for quantity, just one more second, one more breath, one more pump, give that to you. If your concern is for quality, the value of intrinsic, what light shines in someone's eyes, you can allow nature to take its course. You're not doing the wrong thing by allowing your family to pass if they wish in their body to pass. I'm here to tell you right now that there's no blood on your hands. You have a choice. It's your body. It's your choice. Because I'll tell you, the ICU has a saying that is pretty dark and pretty gross, but it's encapsulated well with it. We have a tube for every hole, and if you don't have a hole, we can make one and put a tube in it. And that's all the magic we do, is putting tubes in holes and pushing either air, adrenaline.
Food.
It's hard to even call it food. It's like, it's liquefied biscuit and gravy. It is. And I mean, also, like, thinking as hippies about what you put in your body source-wise, it's corn syrup. It is not healthy food. It gives everybody diarrhea. And this is something we didn't even really talk about, is how when your arms are tied down, you can't get out of your poop and pee. You're in poop and pee and there for an hour if we're not able to get to you. And that's the best case scenario, is laying in poop and pee with your wrists handcuffed to the bed for an hour, for only 1 hour. But I exist as a wound care nurse now because people are living longer and wounds are getting larger, because there's not enough staff to turn every 2 hours. It takes this much pressure to turn your fingernail white. We'll start breaking bone through skin over 3 hours. That's why we turn every 2, or we say we do, and it'll say in the chart that they do. But again, I exist as a wound care nurse because there's so many bed sores on people's tailbones from not being able to be turned every 2 hours. We're in an imperfect world where we're being sold the perfect song, and it is exactly what some of us want to hear. But wake up, folks. Know that you can be lied to by experts. I don't like it. I'm here. We're here, telling you as much truth as we can in an hour and a half, hour and 5 minutes, to see who we can reach in the longest form possible. Because I make these short, unhinged, 1 minute or less videos to catch your eye and put some bugs in your ear, put some seeds in your garden. As a vegetable farmer,
Stop it.
I don't like it. I don't like turning people into vegetables. If If that's not what they wanted, if it's not what the family wanted, I don't like using these hands, these huge hands, to just worship the body. You're here to worship life. You're here to worship the spirit. And maybe, would you like to say one more thing? I think we're about wrapped.
Stay tuned for more.
Yeah, stay tuned for more. We're going to keep doing this. I got a lot of people I'd like to interview.
It's going to be okay.
It's okay.
It is okay. There's a lot of tough stuff to hear and to know. But it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. It's better than okay.
We don't remember being born. We don't remember before that. And we act like sometimes we're bad at remembering. We're not. We're really good at forgetting. You can choose to remember whatever you wish at any time, but sometimes you don't want to. We remember what we're comfortable remembering. And again, we're really good at forgetting. So if you didn't like any of this, I understand. You can forget it all. You don't have to watch it. But if you did like it, leave a comment, share it. Talk to your family about their goals of care and what quality of life they're willing to accept before you start spending $10,000 a day just so they can develop bed sores that'll have to be treated for $15,000 a day.
Let us know what you want to know about, because we could talk till the cows come home. Is that what they say?
Yeah, we could talk to the cows
Phrases.
come home. Yeah, let us know what's on your mind and what's curious to you. What we said was confusing. What we said that was very misleading or misunderstanding. I'd love to explain it. I don't want to assume everything we've said is going to be understood the first time.
Yeah, we have a lot of nurse friends, doctor friends, so it's easy to just get right to it. But we're here to bridge the gap.
Bridge the gap.
We're connector pieces.
Connector
Let
pieces.
us help.
Yeah.
Not trying to tell you to do anything. Just what do you want to know about?
We have a lot of keys to these gates, and I don't like gatekeepers, and I don't think you do either. I think there's a key that you can take with you to open any gate you come to, and know that when you navigate your healthcare, you can with ease because you have the keys. I'll leave it with one quote, unless you have anything more to say.
Take it away.
This is from Voltaire. Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. It's the Q word out loud. Love you guys.